Hey, fans of high quality entertainment. Today's tier list is on the year 1967. And, when I'm seeing the list, it's on Rate Your Music, and they have hundreds of albums from this year. And at first, the top of the list, there were quite a few that I knew, and I added them. But as the list went along, there were just fewer and fewer that I knew of. So in total, I think I only have 34 albums that, I know well enough to rank. There's obviously some great albums missing that I just don't either I've never heard or I just don't know them well enough to rank them. The Byrds, Buffalo Springfield, Bob Dylan, John Wesley Harding, Cream, and Traffic, and there's, other artists too. But these are the albums that overall I know very well. And so I'm going to rank them. So S is superior, and then A, B, C, and D is at the bottom. Here we go. Smiley Smile, the Beach Boys. I love the Beach Boys. I don't love everything they've done, of course. There's Summer in Paradise, which is one of the worst albums ever. But Smiley Smile for me is S tier. And remember, these are my personal rankings. Now, I was just listening to their debut album today again, The Velvet Underground. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. But I think of the four albums with Lou Reed, I don't know. I think I love White Light, White Heat more. And that might be my least favorite of the first four Velvet Underground albums. It's still great. I'll put that in A tier. There's just two or three songs that I don't feel are as strong as some of the other songs on the album, like I'm Waiting for the Man and Heroin and those kind of songs. The Moody Blues, Days of Future Past, they would go on to make even better albums. I'll put that at the start of B. And then, like I said, the later 6 or 7 albums, they're all at least A tier for me. The Monkees' Headquarters, that's S tier. The Rolling Stones, Between the Buttons, I'm going with the American version because I know the track listing is different on the UK version. And I believe Between the Buttons starts with Ruby Tuesday. Let me check that. Yeah, well, it doesn't start with Ruby Tuesday, but it's included. And the first song is Let's Spend the Night Together. And at the moment, I don't own the album, but I've heard it, quite a few times, and it's, I think I'm going to put it in A, but behind the Velvet Underground. Time and Charges, the Buckinghams. They would go on to make a couple of excellent albums. That one I don't play very often. It's good, but it's not great. Arlo Guthrie, Alice's Restaurant. I remember my older brother having that on vinyl, and I would play it quite often, especially side one, the epic Alice's Restaurant. And then side 2 was good too. I'll put that in B. Okay, Vanilla Fudge. I even listened to some of the album again today on Spotify just to make sure. I am just not a fan of Vanilla Fudge at all. It's in D for me. More of the Monkees. Yeah, that's the album that kind of really peeved, especially Mike Nesmith, because they weren't even aware of it being released. It was just cobbled together, but still, lots of great songs on it. I'll put that just behind the Rolling Stones, Between the Buttons. Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? That's the UK cover. And I think the track listing is different too, but still, and once again, for me, I'm not saying the Monkees are better than the Jimi Hendrix experience. Just for me personally, to listen to an album, I just enjoy Headquarters just a tad more. Yeah, I've really been getting into the Young Rascals lately. I have the new box set with all the remastered albums, and I'm just so impressed with them. And they actually, they played on their albums. They were a real band. I'm going to put that in A tier, ahead of the Rolling Stones. All right, Pink Floyd and their first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I listened to this, last night for the first time in probably in a year. And it's S tier. It's at the very start of S tier. I think I enjoyed it the most I've ever enjoyed the album. So, this brings me to Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles. Listening to Pink Floyd last night really made me think that Pink Floyd, on their first album, they were experimenting even more than the Beatles were with Sgt. Pepper. Sgt. Pepper, contains for me the greatest song ever, A Day in the Life. But some of the songs are just, regular, great pop rock songs. But with Pink Floyd, they were just all over the place, experimenting. And like I said, I was just so impressed with it, listening to it last night. I'm going to put Sgt. Pepper behind Pink Floyd for the first time. I know it's a shocker, but just remember, for me, the Beatles are the best band ever. But I think Pink Floyd's album was just as influential, if not more, than Sgt. Pepper. Canned Heat, their debut album. I love Canned Heat. I'll put that just ahead of the Monkees. After Bathing at Baxter's, Jefferson Airplane. I love Volunteers. That's my favorite Jefferson Airplane album. I'll put that in B, right there. Love, Forever Changes. I've owned the album for many years. I listen to it maybe once or twice a year, and I do enjoy it, but I kind of think it's a little overrated. I'm going to put that in B. Just behind the Moody Blues. Procol Harum, their debut album. It's, at the moment, it's my least favorite of their early albums, up to the early 70s. I guess I just need to listen to it more. I will put it in B. Just behind Love. All right, the Monkees. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited is S tier. And I think I enjoy it even more than Headquarters. I'm going to put it right there. Now, the Buckinghams, I believe this is the follow-up to Time and Charges. And if you love pop rock music from the 60s, I highly recommend you checking out this album. I'm going to put that in A tier, ahead of the Rascals. The Mothers of Invention, Absolutely Free. I know I'm a big Frank Zappa fan, and so a lot of Zappa fans might put that in S tier. I will put that in A tier. Right there. Now this is a more recent one. It's in one of my CD exchanges with Glenn Kellaway. That's Eric Burdon and the Animals, Winds of Change. I haven't heard it for a while, but I just remember, playing it quite a bit when I had it and saying to Glenn, I want to buy that album. It's that good. But of course I haven't bought it yet. But I'm going to put that in B, at the start of B. The Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, I think is a underrated album. I got to put that in S tier, but behind Jimmy. And a couple of the songs on that. She's a Rainbow and 2,000 Light Years from Home, which is probably my favorite Rolling Stones song. The Who, Sell Out. That's a fun album. I can put that in A tier, just before Velvet Underground, or behind Velvet Underground. Another Jefferson Airplane, Surrealistic Pillow. Glenn Kellaway's favorite Jefferson Airplane album. I bet you didn't know that. I will put that in A tier, ahead of the Rascals. The Doors. S tier. Just before Sgt. Pepper. Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. Safe as Milk. I love Captain Beefheart, and that is a great album. I'm going to put that in A, just before or just behind Velvet Underground. Okay. The Rascals Collections. I listened to that the other day again. I think it's pretty equal to Groovin', but just ahead of Groovin'. Something Else by the Kinks. Great album, but not one of my favorite Kinks albums. I'll put that in B, at the start of B. Now this one is Sonny Bono, his one and only solo album. I actually heard one of the tracks, the longest track, and I posted it on one of my radio shows, kind of half joking, like, because it's so weird. And then other people are commenting that they liked it, and I kept listening to it, and I really liked it too. And the rest of the album is different. It's a very unique, kind of ahead of its time in some ways, but I'm not going to go overboard with the ranking. I'll put it in at the start of C. I would need to listen to those other songs more, but the opening track, like I said, is a really long track, which I love. The Doors, Strange Days. Basically as good as the debut, but behind the debut. David Bowie, his self-titled first album. He kind of disowned it, I guess. It's okay. I'll put that in C, at the start of C. It's a fun listen once a year or so. The Beach Boys' Wild Honey. I love it. S tier. The only negative about it is it's too short. It's like 25 minutes long. I'll put it... I think those two are equal for me at the moment. Smiley Smile and Wild Honey. So I'll put them together there. 2 more to go. Van Morrison, Blowing Your Mind. At the end of B. And Magical Mystery Tour is S tier. I know it's, I'll place it in a second there, but it's not really, it wasn't known as a official Beatles album, especially in the UK, because it was just an EP. But today and for the last many, many years, it is recognized as a real Beatles album. So I'm going to rate it as a real Beatles album. And I'll put that ahead of the Doors. So there you go. There is my ranking. Make sure you can see it all. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 albums in S tier. So let me know what albums are missing. And like I said, of course, there's going to be albums missing that I either don't know very well or I've never heard. And also, what do you think of my ranking? I'm sure I'll hear about that too. And do any of you agree about the Pink Floyd album being ahead of Sgt. Pepper? Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.